I watched my husband screw another woman in our baby's nursery through a camera I installed to keep my daughter safe. Let that sink in. Not in a hotel. Not in his car. In the room where our 3-month-old daughter slept every single night. The same room where I'd spent countless hours rocking her to sleep, singing lullabies, praying for her future. And there he was, my husband of 5 years, the man I'd given everything to, with his assistant bent over the changing table. The same changing table I'd spent 2 weeks researching to make sure it was non-toxic and safe. My name is Sienna Hayes. I'm 30 years old, Black, and I thought I was living the dream in Los Angeles. Beautiful home in View Park, successful husband, healthy baby girl named Aria. From the outside, I had it all figured out. But girl, let me tell you, sometimes the life that looks perfect on Instagram is rotting from the inside out. Backstory, the setup. It was a regular Tuesday afternoon in October. I was working from home. I was a marketing coordinator for a mid-sized tech company back then, nothing fancy, but it paid decent. Aria had just turned 3 months old, and, like any new mom, I was paranoid about everything. SIDS, temperature, breathing, you name it, I worried about it. So I did what millions of moms do. I bought a baby monitor. Not just any monitor though, one of those fancy ones with the app that lets you check in from anywhere. Crystal clear video, night vision, two-way audio, the whole 9 yards. Cost me $300, but I told myself it was worth it for peace of mind. My husband, Devin. Yeah, that's his name, and I'm gonna use it because he deserves to be remembered for exactly what he did. Devin was the VP of operations at a major entertainment law firm in Century City. Big office, big salary, big ego. He was 40 years old, drove a Range Rover, wore Tom Ford suits, and thought his shit didn't stink. We'd met 6 years ago at a networking event in Hollywood. I was 24, ambitious, and honestly, impressed by his confidence. He was this successful Black man who seemed to have his life together, and he pursued me hard. Flowers every week, surprise trips to Napa, introduced me to his family within 3 months. I thought I'd hit the jackpot. We got married a year later. Small wedding, mostly his family and colleagues. Looking back now, I realize he rushed everything. But when you're young and in love, or what you think is love, you don't see the red flags. You see fireworks. Have you ever ignored red flags because everything else seemed perfect? Drop a comment and let's talk about it. The first 2 years were good. Great, even. We bought the house, I got promoted, we traveled. But then I started noticing little things. He'd come home late smelling like perfume that wasn't mine. He'd get secretive text messages and walk out of the room to answer them. His business dinners became more frequent. But every time I brought it up, he'd flip it on me. You're being insecure, Sienna. Why are you always so negative? I work hard for this family, and this is the thanks I get. Classic gaslighting, but I didn't know that term back then. I just knew I felt crazy and guilty for even questioning him. Then I got pregnant with Aria, and things seemed to get better. He was attentive during the pregnancy, came to every doctor's appointment, rubbed my feet when they swelled up. I thought maybe having a baby would fix whatever was broken between us. Spoiler alert, babies don't fix broken marriages. They just make the cracks more obvious. Aria was born in July. Beautiful, healthy, perfect. Those first few weeks were rough, like they are for every new parent. I was exhausted, running on maybe 3 hours of sleep a night, trying to figure out breastfeeding while recovering from a C-section. Devin went back to work after 2 weeks, and I was home alone with this tiny human who needed me for everything. He started staying out even later than before. Big case, he'd say. Partnership review coming up. Always an excuse. Always something more important than being home with his wife and newborn daughter. By the time Aria was 3 months old, I was touched out, tired, and lonely as hell. My mom lives in Atlanta, so I didn't have family nearby. My friends were mostly single or childless, living their best lives in downtown LA. while I was covered in spit up and struggling to remember the last time I'd washed my hair. That's when I installed the camera. The discovery. It was a Tuesday, like I said. October 15th. I'll never forget that date. It's burned into my brain like a brand. I just put Aria down for her afternoon nap. She'd been fussy all morning, growth spurt probably, and I was exhausted. I decided to take advantage of the quiet to meal prep for the week. Nothing fancy, just some chicken and rice I could heat up quickly between feedings. I had the baby monitor app open on my phone on the kitchen counter, volume on low, just checking in every few minutes while I chopped vegetables. Aria was sleeping peacefully, her little chest rising and falling in that way that made my heart squeeze every single time. Then I heard the front door open. It was 2:47 p.m. Devin never came home in the middle of the day. My first thought was that something was wrong. Maybe he got sick, or there was an emergency at work. I wiped my hands on a dish towel and walked toward the foyer. Devin? Baby, you okay? No answer. Then I heard footsteps going upstairs. Fast. And then I heard something that made my blood run cold. A woman's laugh. What would you do in that moment? Would you run upstairs? Call his phone? Tell me in the comments. I stood frozen in my kitchen, knife still in my hand from chopping bell peppers. My brain was trying to make sense of what I was hearing. Maybe it was his sister? No, she was in San Diego. A colleague? Why would they be upstairs? Then I remembered the camera, the baby monitor. With shaking hands, I picked up my phone and opened the app. I switched from the crib view to the nursery overview, the camera I'd positioned to catch the whole room. And there it was. Everything. In full HD color. Devin and a woman I'd never seen before. She was younger than me, maybe 25, with long straight hair and a tight dress that was already halfway off. They were kissing, groping each other, completely oblivious to the fact that they were being recorded. And then, oh God, I can still see it when I close my eyes. They moved toward the changing table. My baby's changing table. The one with the custom cushion cover I'd ordered from Etsy, with little moons and stars on it. He bent her over it. I'm going to spare you the graphic details because this isn't that kind of story. But trust me when I say I saw enough. I don't remember dropping my phone. I don't remember screaming. I just remember my neighbor, Mrs. Chun, banging on my front door asking if everything was okay, because apparently I was making sounds that didn't even seem human. The noise must have traveled upstairs because suddenly I heard scrambling, footsteps running. The woman's voice. Oh my God, someone's home. Devin came flying down the stairs, tucking his shirt in, face flushed. The woman was behind him, shoes in her hand, looking terrified. We made eye contact, me and this stranger. Her eyes went wide when she saw my face. Whatever she saw, there made her push past Devin and run out the front door without a word. And then it was just me and him, standing in our beautiful foyer with its hardwood floors and the family photos on the wall that suddenly felt like lies. Sienna, I can explain, he started. In our baby's room? My voice didn't sound like mine. It was low, dangerous, shaking with rage I didn't even know I was capable of. In Aria's nursery, where our daughter sleeps? He had the audacity to look annoyed. Not ashamed. Not sorry. Annoyed. Like I was inconveniencing him by catching him. You're being dramatic, he said. She's 3 months old. She doesn't even know. Get out. Sienna? Get the fuck out of my house. If someone disrespected you like that in your own home, in your baby's room, how would you handle it? Let's talk in the comments. He left, grabbed his keys, and left without another word. Didn't even go upstairs to check on his daughter who'd started crying from all the yelling. I stood there in shock for what felt like hours but was probably only minutes. Then I went upstairs, picked up my baby girl, and held her while we both cried. That was the moment my old life ended. That was the moment Sienna the naive wife died. And that was the moment Sienna the warrior was born. I just didn't know it yet. The aftermath. First 48 hours. The first night was the worst. I didn't sleep. Couldn't eat. Just sat in the nursery rocking Aria, looking at that changing table, feeling sick every time I thought about what I'd witnessed. Devin didn't come home that night. Didn't call. Didn't text. Nothing. I called my girl Jasmine around midnight. She's my best friend from college, the only person I knew would
pick up and not judge me.
He did what? She screamed into the phone when I told her. In the baby's room? Sienna, that's sick.
That's
not even regular cheating, that's like violation on another level. I don't know what to do, Jazz. First thing tomorrow, you're calling a lawyer. Second thing, you're changing the locks. Third thing, I can't afford a lawyer. Everything's in his name. The house, the cars, everything. I've been on maternity leave. I barely have anything in my checking account. That's when the fear really set in. I'd been so focused on the betrayal that I hadn't thought about the practical stuff. I was financially dependent on a man who'd just shown me exactly how little he respected me. Have you ever felt trapped because of money? That feeling of knowing you should leave, but not knowing how you'd survive. Drop a comment if you've been there. Devin finally came back the next afternoon. He looked rough, wrinkled clothes, bloodshot eyes. Probably stayed at a hotel or with one of his boys. We need to talk, he said, like this was a business meeting. I have nothing to say to you. Sienna, come on. Don't be like this. Don't be like this? I laughed, and it sounded manic even to my own ears. You cheated on me in our baby's room, and I'm not supposed to be like anything, he sighed, like I was being difficult. It was a mistake.
It didn't mean anything.
You've been so focused on Aria. You haven't had time for me. So it's my fault? I just pushed a human being out of my body 3 months ago, and it's my fault you stuck. Your dick and your assistant. His face changed. Got cold. How did you know she was my assistant? I didn't. But thanks for confirming. That's when I saw a flash of something in his eyes. Not guilt. Calculation. He was figuring out how much I knew, what I'd seen, what I could prove. I want a divorce, I said. Fine. He said it so easily, like we were talking about what to have for dinner. But you need to understand something, Sienna. This house? Mine. The cars? Mine. I've been the breadwinner this whole marriage.
You're
not entitled to half of anything just because you're mad I made one mistake. One mistake? One. He looked away. Didn't confirm or deny.
Didn't have to.
How many, Devin? How many women? That doesn't matter. How many? I don't know. A few. Does it matter? The point is, I held up my hand. I couldn't hear anymore. If I heard anymore, I'd either throw up or kill him, and I had a baby to think about. Get out, I said quietly. Get your stuff and get out. You can see Aria with supervision until we figure out custody, but I don't want you in this house. This is my house. And that is your daughter upstairs who you haven't even asked about.
Get out.
Would you have thrown him out, or would you have tried to work it out for the baby?
Be honest in the
comments. He left, took some clothes and his toiletries. Before he walked out, he turned back. You're going to regret this, Sienna. You have no idea what you're doing. You can't survive without me.
I didn't respond.
Just closed the door in his face and locked it. Then I slid down to the floor and cried until I had nothing left. Week 1. Reality sets in. The first week after Devin left was a blur of crying, feeding Aria, and staring at my bank account in panic. I had $3,847.62 in my personal checking account. That was it. That was supposed to cover what? Diapers? Formula if my milk dried up from stress? A lawyer? First and last month's rent somewhere else when he inevitably kicked me out of his house? My maternity leave was unpaid after the first 6 weeks. I wasn't due back at work for another month and a half. Even then, my salary was only $52,000 a year. In Los Angeles. With a baby. Do the math. It doesn't work. I sat at the kitchen table with a notepad, trying to make a budget work. No matter how I sliced it, I was screwed. I couldn't afford childcare on my salary. I couldn't afford to move. I couldn't afford a lawyer to fight for what I
deserved.
Devin knew this. That's why he'd been so calm when I asked for a divorce. He knew I was trapped. But here's what Devin didn't know about me. I'm my mama's daughter. And my mama raised 3 kids alone. After my daddy left, working 2 jobs, making miracles out of nothing. She didn't teach me to be helpless.
She
Taught me to be resourceful. If you grew up watching your mama or grandma make a way out of no way, drop a heart in the
comments.
That generational strength hits different. I started thinking strategically. What did I have? What could I use? 1. Video evidence of Devin's affair in our home 2. His reputation at his fancy law firm. They probably wouldn't love knowing their VP was messy like this. 3. Time. He clearly wasn't in a rush to file for divorce, probably hoping I'd just fold. 4. Anger. And girl, I had enough anger to fuel a rocket to Mars. But I needed information. I needed to know what I was really dealing with. That's when I remembered. A few. He'd said a few women. If there were others, they might be willing to talk. They might know things. They might have their own receipts. I picked up my phone and did something crazy. I called his office. Devin Hayes' office. This is Brittany speaking.
Brittany.
The assistant. The woman from the video. My hand tightened on the phone. Hi, Brittany. This is Sienna, Devin's wife. Silence. Then, oh. Hi. I'm calling to let you know that Devin and I are separating. I'm sure you're aware of the situation. More silence. Look, I continued. I'm not calling to yell at you or threaten you. I'm calling because I think you and I both got played by the same man. And I think there might be others. If you know anything, other women, other situations, I'd appreciate you being honest with me. I could hear her breathing on the other end of the line. Why would I help you? She finally asked. Because he did the same thing to you that he did to me. He made you think you were special, right? That his wife didn't understand him? That he was going to leave me eventually? Yes. Did he tell you I was crazy? Controlling? That I trapped him with a baby? How did you? Because that's what men like Devin do, Brittany. They have a script. And I'm guessing you're not the only woman he used it on. There was a long pause. Then, there's a woman named Shayla. She used to work at the firm. She left about a year ago. I think something happened between them. My heart was pounding. Do you have her contact information? I shouldn't. Brittany, please. I have a 3-month-old baby and no money. He's going to try to take everything from me.
I
need ammunition. Another pause. Then, check your email in 5 minutes. She hung up. Would you have called the other woman? Or would you have kept your distance?
Tell me what you
would have done. True to her word, Brittany sent me an email with Shayla Turner's LinkedIn profile and personal email address. In the message, she wrote, "There were at least 3 others that I know of. He's been doing this for years. I'm sorry. At least 3 others. My husband, the man I'd pledged my life to, the father of my child, had been running around LA like he was. Single, collecting women like Pokemon cards. I felt sick. Then I felt angry. Then I felt something else, determined. I opened a new email to Shayla Turner. If you're enjoying Sienna's story and want to see how she gets her revenge, make sure you're subscribed. And hit that like button. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next." I stared at that email to Shayla Turner for 20 minutes before I finally hit send. My hands were shaking so bad I almost deleted it 3 times. What was I even supposed to say? "Hi, stranger. I think you slept with my husband. Want to grab coffee and compare notes?" But I did it. I kept it simple. "Hi, Shayla. My name is Sienna Hayes. I'm Devin Hayes' wife, or soon-to-be ex-wife. Brittany from his office gave me her contact. I recently discovered Devin has been unfaithful, and I'm trying to understand the full picture. If you're willing to talk, I'd really appreciate it. No judgment, just truth. Sienna." I hit send before I could overthink it anymore, then put my phone face down on the counter like it might explode. Aria was fussing in her bouncer, so I picked her up and walked around the house, bouncing her gently. while my mind raced. What if Shayla told Devin I was reaching out? What if she thought I was crazy? What if she laughed at me? 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed. My heart jumped into my throat. I put Aria back in her bouncer and grabbed my phone with sweaty palms.
It was Shayla.
Call me. 310-555-0847. Today if you can. Girl, I called her so fast I almost dropped my phone. It rang twice before a woman's voice answered. This is
Shayla.
Hi, this is Sienna. Thank you so much for being willing to. Let me stop you right there, she interrupted. Her voice was firm, but not unkind. Before we do this, I need to. No. Are you recording this call? Are you trying to build a legal case? Because I have my own life and career to protect. No recording. I need to know the truth. He told me there were a few others. I need to know what I'm really dealing with. There was a long exhale on the other end.
Okay.
Can you meet somewhere? I don't want to do this over the phone. We arranged to meet the next day at a coffee shop in Culver City, neutral territory, far from Devin's office.
My
mom flew in from Atlanta that afternoon to watch Aria. God bless that woman. I told her everything and she just held me while I cried, then said, "Baby, you're gonna get through this. And that man is gonna regret the day he played with you." Have you ever had someone believe in you when you didn't believe in yourself?
That's
what my mama did for me that day. Comment below if you know what I'm talking about. The next morning, I walked into Bluestone Lane Cafe and spotted Shayla immediately. She was beautiful, tall, dark-skinned, natural hair in a twist-out, professional blazer and jeans. She was typing on her laptop, but looked up when I approached. "Sienna?" she asked. I nodded and sat down across from her. We stared at each other for a moment, two black women connected by the same trifling man. "I'm sorry," she said suddenly. "I didn't know. He was married when it started. By the time I found out, I was already..." She trailed off. Already in too deep. I finished for her. She nodded. "He has this way of making you feel like you're the only person in the world who understands him. Like you're special. And then you find out you're just another rotation," I said bitterly. Shayla's jaw tightened. "I worked at his firm for 2 years. Started as a paralegal, worked my way up to senior legal assistant. Devin and I started, whatever it was, about 8 months into my time there. He pursued me hard. Flowers sent to my apartment, expensive dinners, weekend trips to Palm Springs. He told me his marriage was basically over, that you two were just roommates at that point, that he was planning to leave. Let me guess, he was just waiting for the right time?" She nodded. "He said you were emotionally unstable, and he was worried about how you'd react. Said you'd threaten to ruin his career if he left." I actually laughed at that. I've never threatened him with anything. Until now, I didn't even know there was anything to threaten him with. "Yeah, I figured that out eventually," Shayla said. "It took me almost a year, but I started noticing things. He'd cancel plans last minute with vague excuses. He never let me come to his place. His phone was always face
down.
And then one day, I saw his Instagram. He blocked me from his personal one, but I found his public account and there were photos of you two. Recent photos. You were clearly pregnant. That's when I knew he'd been lying about everything." "What did you do?" I asked. "I confronted him. Told him I knew about you and the baby. You know what he said?" She leaned forward, and I could see the anger still fresh in her eyes. He said, "What did you expect? You knew I was married. Like I was stupid for believing him. Like I was the problem. Have you ever been gaslit so hard you questioned your own reality? Drop a comment if you've experienced this." "I quit the firm 2 weeks later," Shayla continued. "I couldn't be in that environment anymore. Couldn't see his face every day knowing he'd played me like that. But here's the thing, Sienna, I wasn't the first and I know I wasn't the last." My stomach dropped. "How many?" She pulled out her phone and opened a note. I did some digging before I left. Called in some favors with other women at the firm who I trusted. These are the names I know for sure.
She showed me the list.
7 names. 7 women. My vision blurred for a second.
7.
There might be more, she added quietly. These are just the ones I could confirm. Most of them don't work at the firm anymore. He has a pattern, gets involved with someone, keeps it going for 6 months to a year, then moves on to the next. The only reason Brittany lasted longer is because she's willing to keep it casual and doesn't ask questions. I felt like I was going to throw up. Did any of them know about each other? A few of us figured it out. Eventually. There's a woman named Nicole, she's number 3 on that list, who actually confronted him with another woman named Keisha. He convinced them they were both lying and trying to sabotage him. They ended up fighting each other instead of holding him accountable. I shook my head in disbelief.
He's been doing this
our entire marriage. Probably before your marriage too, Shayla said gently. Men like Devin don't just wake up one day and decide to cheat. This is who he is. It's probably who he's always been. We sat in silence for a moment. Then I asked the question I really needed answered. Do you have proof? Messages, emails, anything? Shayla smiled. Not a happy smile, more like a knowing one. Girl, I have a whole folder. Screenshots of texts, emails he sent from his work account, even some voice messages. I kept it, all just in case. I had a feeling he might try to retaliate after I quit, so I wanted insurance. Would you be willing to share that with me? She didn't even hesitate.
Yes.
On one condition. Name it. When you take him down, and I know you're going to take him down, I can see it in your eyes. I want to know about it.
I
want to watch him fall. I reached across the table and squeezed her hand.
Deal.
What would you do with this kind of information? Would you confront him, or would you stay quiet and plan? Let me know in the comments. Shayla sent me everything that afternoon. Y'all, when I tell you this man was sloppy. Text messages telling Shayla he loved her while I was in the hospital giving birth to Arya. Emails to another woman talking about leaving his crazy wife and starting fresh. Voice messages saying the most romantic things while I was at home with our newborn, touched out and exhausted. I sat on my bed with my laptop and went through everything. With every message, every lie, every manipulation, I felt something shift inside me. The heartbreak was still there, sure, but it was being overtaken by something else. Something colder. Something focused. Devin wanted to play games?
Okay.
Let's play. I spent the next week doing research. Real research. I created a fake Facebook account and joined some of those divorce support groups. I learned about forensic accountants and how to find hidden assets. I learned about fault-based divorce in California and how infidelity could impact spousal support. I learned about parental alienation and how to protect my custody rights. I took notes like I was studying for the bar exam. My mama watched Arya while I worked, occasionally bringing me tea and snacks. You're scaring me a little bit, she said. One evening, looking at my color-coded spreadsheets and printed documents. Good, I replied. Devin should be scared too. She smiled. That's my girl. I also reached out to 2 more women on Shayla's list, Nicole and a woman named Imani. Both agreed to meet
me.
Both had similar stories. Both had receipts. By the end of week 2, I had a file that would make a prosecutor weep with joy. Text messages, emails, financial records that Imani had managed to get. She'd worked in accounting at his firm, even photos. Devin had been so arrogant, so sure he'd never get caught, that he'd been careless. And that carelessness was about to cost him everything. But I needed money first. I couldn't take him down if I was broke and homeless. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I called his mother. Devin's mom, Patricia, was a piece of work. Proper, judgmental, always. Thought I wasn't good enough for her precious son. But she also had money. Old LA money from her family's real estate investments, and she worshipped her granddaughter. I invited her over for tea, played the perfect daughter-in-law, let her hold Aria, made small talk. Then, casually, I mentioned that Devin and I were having some problems. What kind of problems? She asked, immediately defensive. He's been working so much lately, I said carefully. I barely see him, and when he is home, he's distant. I'm worried about him. Patricia pursed her lips. Devin has always been dedicated to his career. You knew that when you married him. I did, I agreed. But I didn't expect to be raising our daughter alone while he's… I let my voice break a little. I'm sorry, I shouldn't burden you with this. While he's what, Sienna? I looked at her with tears in my eyes. Real tears, because the pain was real even if the performance was strategic. I think he might be having an affair. You could have heard a pin drop. Patricia's face went through about 5 different emotions in 2 seconds. That's a serious accusation. I know, and I don't want to believe it, but there have been signs and I found. I stopped myself. Never mind. I shouldn't have said anything. T apologized for my son's sins. She reached for her purse. I need to think. But Sienna, let me be clear about something. Whatever happens between you and Devin, Aria is my granddaughter. If you need anything at all, you call
Me.
Do you understand? I nodded, not trusting my voice. She kissed Aria's forehead and left. 3 hours later, $10,000 appeared in my bank account with a memo that said, for my granddaughter. I stared at that notification for a full minute.
Then
I smiled. Devin had no idea what was coming. The next day, I used some of that money to hire a lawyer. Not just any lawyer, a shark. Her name was Vivian Rodriguez, and she had a reputation for destroying unfaithful husbands in divorce court. I walked into her downtown office with my file of evidence, and she actually smiled when she saw how organized I was. Most clients come in here emotional and empty-handed, she said, flipping through my documents. You came prepared. I had good teachers, I replied. Life and necessity. We spent 2 hours going through everything. She took notes, asked questions, and by the end, she was practically glowing. Sienna, I'm not going to lie to you. This is going to get ugly. Devin has money and connections. He's going to fight dirty. Good, I said. So, will I? I like you, Vivian said with a grin. Okay, here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to file for divorce. With fault. The infidelity is documented and egregious. Second, we're going to go after spousal support and child support aggressively. Third, and this is the fun part, we're going to make sure his firm knows exactly what kind of man they have in leadership. My eyes widened. Is that legal? Everything I do is legal.
But
California is an at-will employment state, and most firms have morality clauses. If they find out their VP has been having multiple affairs with employees and creating a hostile work environment, well, that's their business decision to make. Won't he know I'm behind it? He'll suspect. But he can't prove anything.
the
Complaint will come from Brittany. She's already agreed to file an HR complaint once the divorce papers are
served.
Shayla and Imani are willing to provide supporting statements. I sat back in my chair, stunned.
They'd
Do that for me. Not for you, Vivian corrected gently. For themselves. For every woman he hurt and manipulated. You're just the one who finally decided to do something about it. Have you ever had strangers stand up for you when you needed it most? That's what sisterhood looks like. Comment if you agree. We filed the divorce papers on a Friday. Devin was served at his office, in front of his colleagues by a process server who made sure everyone saw it. Vivian's idea. Maximum impact, she'd said with a wink. Devin called me 17 times that afternoon. I didn't answer. He showed up at the house that evening, furious.
You
Humiliated me, he shouted through the door. In front of my entire office. Do you have any idea what you've
done.
I opened the door, but kept the chain lock on. I filed for divorce. Just like I told you I would.
You.
Vindictive. Choose your next words carefully, Devin. I'm recording this conversation, and anything you say can and will be used against you in court. His face went purple. You can't do this. This house is mine. The money is mine. Actually, California is a community property state, so half of everything acquired during our marriage is mine, including this house, and the Range Rover, and your precious stock options. You're not getting a dime. I have 7 women willing to testify to your adultery. I have text messages, emails, photos, financial records. I have everything, Devin. So you can either settle this reasonably, or I can drag you through the nastiest divorce trial you've ever seen and make sure everyone knows exactly what you are. He stared at me like he'd never seen me before. Who are you? He whispered. I'm the woman you underestimated, I said. Now get off my porch before I call the police. He left. I closed the door, locked it, and slid down to the floor. My hands were shaking, but I was smiling. I'd done it. I'd stood up to him.
And it felt
incredible. Monday morning, Brittany filed her HR complaint. By Monday afternoon, Devin was suspended pending investigation. By Tuesday, Shayla and Imani had provided their statements. By Wednesday, the firm asked for Devin's resignation. He called me Wednesday night. No yelling this time. Just defeat. You destroyed my career. No, I said calmly. You destroyed your career. I just made sure the truth came out. I'll fight you on everything. The house, custody, every dollar. Go ahead. I'll see you in court. He hung up. That night, I did something petty. Something small and stupid, and completely unnecessary. But girl, it felt
good.
Devin had this ridiculous Range Rover that he loved more than he loved me or Aria. Custom paint, upgraded interior, the whole nine. He'd always told me I couldn't drive it because it was too much car for me. So I drove it. Took it through the messiest car wash in LA, you know the kind, where they spray that pink soap. That stains everything, and the brushes are basically just dirty mops. His precious custom interior got soaked because I accidentally left all the windows down. The paint got scratched by the brushes. And I made sure to document everything and send it to his phone with the caption, "Oops. Too much car for me, I guess."
He called
me losing his mind. That car cost $120,000. That's nice, I said. It's community property though, so technically half of it is mine. I can do what I want with my half. You're insane. No, I'm creative.
There's a
difference. Would you have done something petty like this or taken the high road? Be honest in the comments. Sometimes you gotta get a little revenge, right? The divorce took 4 months to finalize. Devin fought me on everything: custody, support, property division. But I had Vivian, I had evidence, and I had a judge who didn't take kindly to men who cheated on their postpartum wives in their baby's nursery. The final settlement was more than I'd even hoped for: 60% equity in the house with the option to buy him out or force a sale, for $1,500 a month in child support, $3,000 a month in spousal support for 3 years, and full custody of Aria, with Devin getting supervised visitation until he completed a parenting course. He also had to pay $15,000 toward my legal fees. When Vivian told me, I cried. Happy tears this time. But here's the thing, I wasn't satisfied. I had the divorce settlement. Devin had lost his job and his reputation. But I was still just a marketing coordinator making $52,000 a year in one of the most expensive cities in America. I had a daughter to raise. I had a future to build. Getting away from Devin was step 1. Revenge was step 2. But success? Success was going to be step 3. And I was just getting started. One evening, about a week after the divorce was finalized, I was scrolling through Instagram when I saw a post from one of Devin's old colleagues. She'd started her own PR firm and was absolutely crushing it. 6-figure clients, featured in Forbes, the whole thing. I stared at that post for a long time. Then I looked around at my living room now, since I'd bought Devin out using money Patricia had loaned me, and I thought about my skills. Marketing, communication, strategy, building brands. I'd been doing it for other companies for 8 years. Why couldn't I do it for myself? That night, I opened my laptop and registered a business. Hayes Media Consulting. The next morning, I designed a website. The day after that, I reached out to every contact I'd ever made in the industry. Within 2 weeks, I had my first client, a small Black-owned beauty brand that needed help with their social media strategy. The contract was only $2,000, but it was mine. I'd earned it. 3 months later, I had 5 clients. 6 months later, I had 12. 1 year later, I had a full roster and a waiting list, and I'd brought in $180,000 in revenue. I hired 2 employees, both women Devin had heard at his firm who were looking for fresh starts. We worked from my house, which I'd converted partly into an office. Aria's room was upstairs. My mama had moved in to help with childcare, and I was building something real. Devin, meanwhile, was working at a smaller firm for half his previous salary. His Range Rover got repossessed. He'd moved into a 1-bedroom apartment in Koreatown. Every time he came to pick up Aria for his visitation, he looked a little more defeated. And every time I made sure I looked a little more successful. New clothes, new confidence, new life. One time, about 18 months after the divorce, he actually tried to apologize. Sienna, I know I messed up. I've been in therapy, working on myself. I want you to know I'm sorry. I looked at him for a long moment. Then I smiled. I appreciate that, Devin. Really.
But I need you to
understand something. I don't forgive you. I don't hate you either. I just don't think about you at all anymore. You're just the man I share a daughter with. That's it. His face fell. He'd wanted redemption, closure, something. But I had nothing left to give him. I'd moved on. And that, more than any revenge or settlement or business success, was the real victory. If someone who hurt you came back apologizing, would you forgive them or move on? Let me know below. I still see some of the women from his past sometimes. Shayla and I grab coffee every few months.
she's
Thriving now, too. Went back to school, got her law degree, works at an even better firm. Imani started her own accounting business. Nicole got engaged to a man who worships her. We have a group chat called Phoenix Rising, where we celebrate each other's wins and remind each other how far we've come. Because that's what women do. We survive. We support. We rise. And we never let men like Devin keep us down. My baby girl Aria is 2 years old now. She's smart, funny, and strong, just like her mama. She'll never remember the nursery where her father betrayed us. She'll never know the pain I felt in those first few weeks. But she will know that her mother is a fighter. She will know that women don't need men to save them. She will know that sometimes you have to save yourself. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever been betrayed and found your way back, if you're in the thick of it right now and need hope, subscribe to this channel and hit that like button. Your support helps me share more stories like this. And trust me, Sienna's journey is just beginning. 2 years into running Hayes Media Consulting, I landed the client that changed everything. A Fortune 500 tech company needed a complete rebrand and social media overhaul. The contract? $350,000. I almost fainted when I read the number. This was it. This was the moment that would take my little home-based operation and turn it into something real, something major. But there was a catch. They wanted to meet the team in person before signing. And by team, they meant me and my 2 employees working out of my converted dining room. I had exactly 1 week to make myself look like a legitimate agency instead of a single mom running a side hustle. Y'all, I went into overdrive. I rented office space in Culver City. Nothing fancy, but it had glass walls and looked professional in photos. I hired 3 more contractors on short-term contracts to fill seats during the meeting. I bought everyone matching blazers from Zara. I created presentation decks that would make Apple jealous. And I practiced my pitch so many times my mama told me to shut up because she could recite it in her
sleep.
The morning of the meeting, I stood in my new office wearing a cream-colored suit, my natural hair in a slicked-back bun, looking at myself in the bathroom mirror. "You got this," I whispered to my reflection. "You're not the woman Devin left crying on the floor. You're Sienna Hayes, CEO." The meeting went perfectly. The clients loved the pitch, loved the energy, loved the vision. They signed the contract right there. $350,000. I didn't cry until I got back to my car. Then I sobbed for 20 minutes straight, called my mama, called Shayla, called everyone who'd supported me.
We
Did it.
I kept saying.
We actually did it. That contract changed everything. Within 6 months, I'd hired 5 full-time employees. Within a year, we'd moved to a bigger office in Playa Vista. Within 18 months, we'd hit $1 million in annual revenue. Hayes Media Consulting became one of the fastest-growing Black-owned agencies in Los Angeles. I got featured in Essence magazine, then Forbes. Then I was invited to speak at marketing conferences.
Me.
The woman who 2 years earlier had $3,847 in her bank account and a cheating husband. Now I was the woman other women looked up to. But success doesn't erase the past. It just gives you a better view of how far you've come. And every time I thought about how far I'd come, I thought about Devin. Because Devin was still out there, still struggling, still paying for what he'd done. And I'm petty enough to admit I loved watching it. Have you ever succeeded just to prove someone wrong? Not gonna lie, it's a powerful motivator. Drop a comment if you know what I mean. Devin's life had completely fallen apart. After losing his VP position, he'd bounced between 3 different firms in 2 years. Each job paid less than the last. The legal community in LA talks and word had spread about why he'd been forced to resign. No major firm wanted the liability. His last job was at a tiny practice in the Valley doing contract review, basically glorified paralegal work, making maybe $85,000 a year. In LA, for a man with his expenses, that's poverty. He'd lost the house in View Park, lost the Range Rover, lost his standing in the community. He was living in a studio apartment in North Hollywood, driving a used Honda Civic, shopping at Trader Joe's with coupons. I know all this because we live in the same city and mutual acquaintances love to gossip. Also, Aria's daycare teacher is friends with his neighbor. Small world, but here's the thing, I didn't feel bad for him. Not even a little bit. Every time someone told me about his struggles, I felt vindicated. He'd told me I couldn't survive without him. He'd said I'd regret leaving. He'd promised I'd come crawling back. Instead, I'd build an empire while he was clipping coupons. The universe has a funny way of balancing scales. One afternoon, about 3 years after the divorce, I was at a networking event at the W Hotel in Hollywood. Big crowd, lots of industry people, open bar. I was talking to a potential client when I felt someone watching me. I turned around, and there he was, Devin, in an ill-fitting suit that had definitely seen better days, holding a beer, staring at me like he'd seen a ghost. Our eyes met across the room. For a second, neither of us moved. Then he started walking toward me. My first instinct was to leave, but then I thought, no, I'm not running from this man. Not anymore.
Sienna, he said.
When he reached me, his voice was different.
Smaller.
Devin. We stood there in awkward silence.
The
potential client I'd been talking to excused herself, probably sensing the tension. You look good, Devin finally
said.
Successful. I am successful, I replied evenly. Business is great. I heard. Saw the Forbes article. That's really impressive. Thank you. More silence. He was fidgeting with his beer bottle, not making eye contact. This was the man who used to command every room he entered, who wore arrogance like cologne. Now he looked like someone had deflated him. "How's Arya?" he asked. "She's wonderful. Smart, happy, healthy." "Does she ask about me?" I could hear the pain in his voice, but I didn't soften. "Sometimes. But she's 4. Her memories of you are limited to supervised visits every other weekend. She knows my employees better than she knows you." He flinched.
Good. I'm
"Trying to do better," he said quietly. "I'm in therapy. I'm working on myself. I'm trying to be a better father." "Devin, I'm going to stop you right there," I interrupted. "I'm glad you're in therapy. I'm glad you're working on yourself. But I need you to understand something. I don't care. I don't care about your journey or your growth or your redemption arc. You're Arya's father, so I'll be cordial for her sake.
But you and
we're done. Finished. There's nothing here to rebuild or revisit." Would you have been this harsh? Or would you have given him a chance to explain himself?
Let me know what
You would have done. He looked at me for a long moment, and I saw tears forming in his eyes. "I know I destroyed us. I know I threw away the best thing I ever had. I was arrogant and selfish, and those are your issues to work through, not mine. Sienna, please. I'm not asking you to take me back. I'm just asking, for what? Forgiveness? Closure? A pat on the head for finally figuring out what you lost." My voice was rising now. People were starting to look. "You don't get that from me, Devin. You don't get to make yourself feel better by apologizing
to me.
You made your choices. You live with them." "I lost everything," he whispered. "I lost my career, my reputation, my family." "No," I cut him off sharply. "You didn't lose anything. You threw it away."
There's a
difference. And you know what the worst part is? You didn't even appreciate it when you had it. You had a wife who loved you, a daughter who needed you, a life most people would kill for. And you risked it all for what?
A
cheap thrill? An ego boost? Because you could. He was crying now, actual tears running down his face. People were definitely staring. I didn't care. I was wrong, he sobbed. I was so wrong, and I hate myself for it every day. Then hate yourself, I said coldly. Feel that. Sit with it. Learn from it. But don't come to me expecting absolution. I'm not your priest. I'm the woman you betrayed in the worst possible way, and I built a whole new life from the ashes of what you destroyed. So no, Devin. I don't forgive you. I don't feel sorry for you. I just don't feel anything for you at all. I walked away without looking back. My hands were shaking, but my head was high. Behind me, I could hear him crying, but I didn't turn around. I was done giving that man my energy. I left the event early, got in my car, a brand new Mercedes SUV that I'd paid cash for, and drove to the beach. I sat in the parking lot at Santa Monica, watching the sunset, and I cried. Not because I felt bad for Devin.
Not
because I regretted what I'd said, but because I realized something profound. I'd won. Completely, totally won. He was broken, and I was whole. He was struggling, and I was thriving.
He was begging for scraps of my
attention, and I didn't even think about him unless forced to. That's not just revenge. That's victory. When I got home, Arya was already asleep. My mama was watching TV in the living room. How was the event? She
asked. Interesting, I said.
Ran into Devin. Her eyebrows shot up. And I told him exactly what I needed to tell him. Then I left. She smiled. That's my girl. The next 2 years were a blur of success. Hayes Media Consulting kept growing. We expanded to 15 employees, then 25. We opened a second office in New York. We won industry awards. I was making more money than I'd ever dreamed of, 7 figures a year. I bought a house in the Palisades with an ocean view, put Arya in the best private school in LA, took my mama on a trip to Italy, paid off every single debt I had, started investing in real estate, built generational wealth. And through it all, Devin kept shrinking in my rearview mirror. His child support payments came late sometimes because he couldn't afford them.
The court
Had to garnish his wages. His supervised visitation got reduced because he kept canceling, couldn't afford the supervisor fee. He became a footnote in my story instead of a chapter. But my story wasn't just about business success. It was about personal growth too. About 5 years after the divorce, I met someone. His name was Marcus. I know, similar to Devin's fake name in your notes. But this Marcus was different. He was a photographer, an artist, a divorced dad with 2 kids of his own. We met at area school during a parent event. He was kind, patient, present. Everything Devin wasn't. Our first date was at a coffee shop in Brentwood. We talked for 4 hours. He made me laugh. He asked about my business, my dreams, my life. He listened. Actually listened. When I told him about Devin, and I was honest, laid it all out, he didn't flinch. That must have been incredibly painful, he said simply. Thank you for trusting me with that story. No judgment. No pity. Just empathy. Have you ever met someone who made you believe in love again after you thought you never would?
comment
Below if you've experienced that second chance feeling. We took it slow. I'd learned my lesson about rushing into things. But over time, Marcus proved himself to be exactly what I needed. He showed up. He was consistent. He loved Aria like she was his own. He supported my business without trying to control it. He celebrated my wins without jealousy. He was secure enough in himself to date a woman who was more successful than him, and he never made it weird. 2 years into our relationship, he proposed. Simple, beautiful, on the beach at sunset. I said yes without hesitation.
We got
married in a small ceremony, just family and close friends. Aria was our flower girl, wearing a dress she'd helped pick out. My mama cried happy tears. Shayla was my maid of honor. All the women from the Phoenix Rising group chat were there. It was perfect. Devin found out through mutual friends. I heard he didn't take it well. But honestly,
I didn't think about it much.
he was irrelevant to my happiness. On my wedding day, I looked around at everything I'd built, the business, the home, the family, the love, and I realized something. Devin hadn't just lost me. He'd lost the opportunity to be part of something beautiful. And that was his loss, not mine. The final chapter in the Devin saga came about 6 months after my wedding. I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Against my better judgment, I answered. Hello. Sienna? It's Devin. I almost hung up, but something in his voice stopped me. What do you want, Devin? I just wanted to say congratulations on your marriage. I heard from some people. Okay. Thank you. Silence. And I wanted to say I'm sorry. Really, truly sorry. Not because I want anything from you. I know that ship has sailed. But because you deserve to hear it. What I did to you was unforgivable. I was a terrible husband and father. I took you for granted, and I paid the price. But you didn't deserve any of it. You were a good wife, and I destroyed something precious because I was too stupid and selfish to see what I had. I took a deep breath. This felt different from his previous attempts at apology. This felt real. I appreciate you saying that, Devin. I'm not asking for forgiveness. Good. Because I'm still not giving it. He laughed, sad and quiet. I figured. I just wanted you to know that I see you now. I see what you built, what you became, how you turned everything around. And I'm proud of you, even though I have no right to be. You don't. I agreed. But I'll take it anyway. You deserve everything you have, Sienna. You earned it. I know. More. Silence. Is there anything else? I asked.
No.
That's it. Just wanted to say that. I'll let you go. Devin. Yeah. Thank you for finally understanding. He hung up. I stood there holding my phone for a moment. Then I did something I never thought I'd do. I deleted his number. Not out of anger or spite. but because I didn't need it anymore. I was married to someone who valued me. I was running a multi-million-dollar company. I was raising my daughter in a home filled with love. Devin was just a person from my past, and I was finally ready to let that past go. That evening, Marcus found me on our balcony, looking out at the ocean. "You okay, babe?" he asked, wrapping his arms around me from behind. "Yeah," I said, leaning back into him. "I'm really, really okay." "Want to talk about it?" Devin called. Apologized. "For real this time." "How do you feel about that?"
I thought about it.
"I feel free. Like I finally closed a door I didn't even realize was still open." He kissed the top of my head. "You're incredible, you know that." "I do," I said with a smile. "But I like hearing you say it." We stood there watching the sunset, and I thought about the woman I used to be. The one who found out her husband was cheating through a baby monitor. The one who had less than $4,000 and no plan. The one who thought her life was over. She'd be so proud of who I became. Because I didn't just survive Devin's betrayal. I didn't just get revenge. I transcended it. I built something he could never touch, never ruin, never take away. I became the woman I was always meant to be. And the best revenge? Devin had to watch it all happen from the sidelines, knowing he could have been part of it, but threw it away. Knowing his daughter would grow up with a stepfather who actually showed up. Knowing his ex-wife was thriving without him. No, better than thriving. Flourishing. As for Devin himself, last I heard, he'd moved out of LA entirely. Couldn't handle running into people who knew his story. Headed to Phoenix or something, trying to start fresh where nobody knew him. Good for him. Honestly, I hope he finds peace. I hope he becomes a better person. But most of all, I hope he never forgets what
He lost.
because that's the real lesson here. You can't treat people like they're disposable and expect them to wait around for you to figure out their worth. Life doesn't work that way. People move on.
They grow.
They succeed. And sometimes, the person you underestimated becomes the person you can't stop thinking about. The person you lost forever. Do you believe people can truly change? Or do they just become better at hiding who they really are? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Today, 5 years after that baby monitor revealed the truth, I'm the CEO of a company worth $5 million.
I'm
Married to a man who treats me like a queen. I'm raising my daughter to be strong, independent, and to never settle for less than she deserves. And I'm living proof that your lowest moment doesn't define you. Your response to it does. Devin tried to break me. Instead, he gave me the motivation to become unbreakable. So, to every woman out there who's going through something similar, who just discovered her partner's betrayal, who's sitting there wondering how she'll survive, who thinks her life is over, let me tell you something. This is not your ending. This is your beginning. The pain you feel right now, that's fuel. Use it. The anger? That's
power. Channel it.
the fear? That's just your old life dying, so your new one can be born. Embrace it. You're not defined by what was done to you. You're defined by what you do next. And trust me when I tell you this. Revenge is sweet, but success is sweeter. Building a life so incredible that your ex can only watch from a distance, wondering what the hell he was thinking? That's the ultimate victory. So get up, dust yourself off, make a plan, execute it, and become so successful, so happy, so fulfilled that you forget he even exists. Because that's the moment you really win. Not when he loses, but when he becomes irrelevant. And ladies, I promise you, that moment is coming. You just have to keep going. If Sienna's story inspired you, if you're ready to turn your pain into power, hit that subscribe button and drop a like. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, your comeback is always stronger than your setback. Let's continue this journey together. You'd think the story ends there, right? Successful businesswoman, happy marriage, thriving kid, ex-husband. Humbled and moved away. Fairy tale ending. But life has a way of adding one more chapter when you least expect it. The chapter that proves the universe really does have a sense of humor. It was a Tuesday morning, 7 years after that baby monitor changed my life. I was in my office overlooking the ocean in Santa Monica. We'd upgraded again, reviewing quarterly reports. Hayes Media Consulting was now Hayes Media Group, with divisions in PR, branding, and digital strategy. We had 40 employees across 3 offices. My personal net worth had hit 8 figures. Aria was 7 years old, thriving in 2nd grade, taking dance classes and learning piano. Marcus and I had just celebrated our 3rd wedding anniversary.
Life
Was good. Better than good. It was everything I'd fought for. My assistant knocked on my door.
Sienna?
There's someone from the FBI here to see you. My heart stopped. FBI? I'm sorry, what? Federal Bureau of Investigation. They said it's about Devin Hayes. Should I send them in? I sat up straighter, my mind racing.
Yes.
Send them in. 2 agents walked into my office, a woman and a man, both in dark suits, both looking serious. Ms. Hayes? I'm Agent Morrison. This is Agent Chen. We're investigating your ex-husband, Devin Hayes, for tax evasion and financial fraud. I blinked. I'm sorry, what? Agent Morrison sat down without being invited. We've been building a case for the past 18 months. During your marriage, Devin was involved in several offshore accounts and shell companies. He was hiding income from the IRS, and we have reason to believe you might have information that could help our investigation. I've been divorced from him for 7 years, I said carefully. We have 0 contact except for matters related to our daughter. We understand that. But during your divorce proceedings, you collected substantial financial documentation. We'd like to access those records. I leaned back in my chair, processing this. Devin hadn't just destroyed his career and reputation. He'd been committing actual crimes. Do I need a lawyer present for this conversation? You're not under investigation, Ms. Hayes. We just need your cooperation. I thought about it for exactly 3 seconds. I'll give you everything I have. When do you need it? Would you have cooperated with the FBI or stayed out of it completely? Drop your answer in the comments. I sent them everything that afternoon. All the financial records I'd collected during the divorce. Bank statements, tax returns, investment accounts. Vivian, my lawyer, had kept meticulous files. The FBI thanked me and left.
I
Sat in my office for a long time after they were gone, staring out at the ocean. Part of me felt bad, but a bigger part of me remembered that baby monitor video. Remembered him telling me I'd never make it without him. Remembered every lie, every manipulation, every woman. And I felt nothing but satisfaction. 3 months later, Devin was arrested. The charges were serious: tax evasion, wire fraud, money laundering. Apparently, he'd been hiding income for years, even during our marriage. The IRS wanted their money, plus penalties. The total? Over $2 million. He couldn't pay it. Obviously. He was broke, living in Phoenix, barely scraping by. The trial was fast.
He took a
plea deal to avoid maximum sentencing, but he still got 30 months in federal prison. I found out through a news alert on my phone. Former entertainment attorney Devin Hayes sentenced to federal prison for tax fraud. There was his mugshot. He looked old, tired, defeated. I screenshot it and sent it to the Phoenix Rising
group chat.
Shayla responded immediately. Karma is real. Imani sent a gif of someone popping champagne. Nicole just sent prayer hands and wrote, "The universe handles its business." My mama called me that evening. Did you see the news about Devin? I did. How do you feel about it?
I
thought about it honestly. I feel like justice was served. Not by me. I didn't do anything except tell the truth when asked. But the universe did what it does. You reap what you sow. That's my wise daughter, she said warmly. Now stop thinking about that man and come have dinner with your family. She was right. I had a Family now. A real one. That evening, Marcus cooked dinner while Arya helped him make salad. We ate together. At our dining table, talking about our days. Arya told us about a boy in her class who pulled her hair, and Marcus gave her advice on how to handle it. You tell him firmly but politely that you don't like it, he said.
And if he doesn't stop, you tell the teacher.
You don't have to accept treatment that makes you uncomfortable. I watched him teach our daughter about boundaries and respect, and my heart swelled. This was what I'd fought for. Not revenge. Not money. This peace. This love. This family built on honesty and mutual respect. Later that night, after Arya was asleep, Marcus and I sat on our balcony with wine. You're quiet tonight, he observed. Just thinking about everything. How far I've come. Where I started versus where I am now. Regrets? Not a single one, I said firmly. I wouldn't change anything because it led me here.
To you.
To this. Life. He squeezed my hand. Devon's going to prison. I know. You okay with that? More than okay.
He
made his choices. He has to live with the consequences. Just like I had to live with the consequences of marrying him. Difference is I turned my consequences into something beautiful. He turned his into a prison sentence. Have you ever watched someone face consequences for hurting you? How did it feel? Let's talk about it in the comments. The next few years flew by. Devon served his time, got out after 20 months for good behavior. I heard through the grapevine that he moved to Arizona permanently, working some low-level job, trying to rebuild. From nothing. He stopped paying child support because he literally couldn't. The court garnished what little he made, but it was pennies. I didn't need it anyway. I'd built wealth. Real, generational wealth. Meanwhile, Hayes Media Group kept growing. We hit $10 million in annual revenue. I was invited to speak at conferences around the world. Harvard Business School did a case study on my company's growth. Young Black women, entrepreneurs reached out constantly, asking for mentorship. I started a foundation to help women leaving abusive or toxic relationships. Gave them resources, job training, legal support. Everything I wished I'd had. When I was sitting on that floor with $3,847 to my name, Arya grew into an incredible kid. Smart, confident, kind. She knew her father had made mistakes. I never lied to her about it, but she also knew she was loved by the family she had. Marcus adopted her legally when she was 9. She started calling him Dad. Devon had visitation rights, but after he got out of prison, he only used them sporadically. Moved too far away. Couldn't afford the travel. Eventually, Arya stopped asking about him. It made me sad for her, but I also knew she had better. She had Marcus, who showed up to every recital, every parent-teacher conference, every soccer game. She had stability. She had love. On Arya's 10th birthday, we threw a party at our house. It was huge, friends from school, family, the works. I watched her run around with her friends, laughing and carefree, and I thought about that 3-month-old baby who'd slept through the worst day of my life. She didn't remember any of it. She'd never carry that trauma, because I'd protected her from it. I'd built a life where she felt safe and loved. That's the real victory. Not that Devon went to prison. Not that I became wealthy. But that I broke the cycle. That I showed my daughter what a strong woman looks like. What it means to stand up for yourself. What it means to build something from nothing. One afternoon, Arya came home from school and found me in my office. Mom, can I ask you something? Always, baby. What's up? My teacher said you're really successful. That you built your company from nothing. Is that true? I pulled her onto my lap. It is true. Why did you do
it?
Because I had to. Because I had you to take care of. Because I wanted to show you that women can do anything they set their minds to. Were you scared? Terrified. I admitted. But I did it anyway. She thought
About that.
I want to be like you when I grow up. I kissed her forehead, tears stinging my eyes. Baby, you can Be anything you want. But if you take one thing from my story, let it be this. Never let anyone make you feel small. Never let anyone convince you that you need them to survive. You're strong all by yourself. What lessons do you want to pass down to your kids or the young people in your life? Share in the comments below. But it's okay to want help sometimes, right? She asked. Of course. There's a difference between wanting help and needing someone to complete you.
I wanted Marcus in my life.
I didn't need him to survive. That's the difference. She nodded like she understood, even though at 10 she probably didn't fully. But she would. Someday she'd face her own challenges, and she'd remember this conversation. She'd remember what her mother overcame. And she'd know she came from a line of strong women who don't break. We bend, we adapt, but we don't break. Today, 10 years after that baby monitor revelation, I'm the CEO of a company worth $15 million. I employ over 60 people, most of them women, many of them women of color. I've been featured in every major business publication. I speak at conferences teaching other women how to build wealth and independence. I have a marriage built on respect, trust, and genuine love. I have a daughter who's confident and kind and knows her worth. And I have peace. Real, deep, unshakable peace. As for Devin, last I heard, he's still in Arizona. Still struggling. Still paying for his choices. Our daughter barely remembers him. She has a father, Marcus, who actually shows up. And honestly, I don't think about Devin anymore. He's not my villain. He's not my motivation. He's just a person who used to be in my life. The man who inadvertently pushed me toward my destiny. Because here's what I learned through all of this. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you is actually the best thing that could have happened. That betrayal forced me to become the woman I was always meant to be. That devastation cleared the path for my success. That rock bottom became my foundation. I didn't just survive Devin's betrayal. I used it as a launching pad. And that's available to every single woman watching this. Your pain has purpose. Your struggle has meaning. Your story isn't over. It's just beginning. So if you're sitting there right now, wondering how you'll make it through, wondering if the pain will ever stop, wondering if you'll ever feel whole again, let me tell you something. You will. You absolutely will. But only if you make the decision to not just survive, but to thrive. Only if you choose to see this as your origin story, not your ending. Only if you decide that the person who broke you doesn't get to define you. The best revenge isn't making them suffer. It's building a life so incredible that you forget they exist. It's becoming so successful that they become a footnote in your story. It's finding happiness so profound that their absence doesn't even register. That's what I did. That's what you can do too.
10 years ago, I watched my
husband betray me in our baby's nursery. Today, I'm a multi-millionaire CEO with a beautiful family and a purpose-driven life. The woman who found that video on the baby monitor would be amazed at who I became, and the woman I am today wants you to know. Your comeback is waiting. Your success story is ready to be written. Your happiness is just on the other side of your decision to never give up. So get up, dust yourself off, and show the world, show yourself what you're really made of. Because trust me, you're made of something stronger than you know. Something unbreakable. Something powerful. And once you tap into that, there's no stopping you. To everyone who's been with me through this entire journey, thank you for watching, for listening, for being here. If this story resonated with you, hit that subscribe button and smash that like.
Drop a comment telling me
where you are in your journey. Are you in the pain phase? The building phase? The victory phase? Let's support each other. Because that's what we do. We rise together. And remember, the best chapter of your life hasn't been written yet. So pick up that pen and start writing. Your future self is waiting. Make her proud.